Afro House in 2025 has a really distinctive sound, and if you listen closely to the tracks, you will notice that a lot of tracks that are being released today share the same core ingredients. It's not about endless layering or complex design, rather it's about carefully choosing the right sound. In this video we'll dive into 5 core sounds of the new Afro House wave, and I will show you how to create them from start to scratch in Serum 2. I will show you elements from a deep lock bass to actual sequences, so that way I try to cover a really broad range of sounds in this genre. Before the video starts, I want to mention that we have just released our new pack called Tantra, which is an Afro House inspired sample pack. It contains everything from vocals to project files, presets, loops and much more. So if you're interested, make sure to check that in the link down below. For now, let's dive straight into this video and show you how you can make these sounds yourself. First of all, the lock bass. So the lock bass is essentially a really deep, almost donkey kind of bass, which kind of resembles a really low tom, and often it's also called a lock drum, but we can recreate this in Serum 2 really well. And for that I'm going to open up a analog BD sign and pitch it up 2 octaves, and a analog BD sign on oscillator B and pitch it down 1 octave. Turn down the level on oscillator B and then select PD from B, which is modulation that gives it that really wobbly sound. However, we're going to automate it with envelope 2 like this. Immediately gives you a bit of that sound, and I already loaded MIDI so we can play it back. Let's also shape envelope 1, so I would drag it something like this, give it a bit of release so it gets some kind of tail. Thing is, we want to keep this sound somewhat natural, so I don't want to overdo the modulation right there. I think that's a good starting point. So what's nice about Serum 2 is that you can now also use actual samples to layer on top of your sounds. And this is really a core change to Serum 1, especially for genres like this, where it can just make a huge difference if you just subtly layer like a more realistic or organic element underneath it. So in this case, we're going to the samples and then let's go to drums, toms. And now we can select one of these toms to be layered on it. And in this case, I'm going for this tom, which sounds like this. Then to sound a bit more filtered, so it's pushed back in the overall mix a little bit. Let's see how that sounds in context. Okay, so when you have it fully opened up, it takes too much of the space of the overall sound. Perhaps we could add a little envelope like... I don't really like it has this long tail. It kind of takes away the attention from the actual deep donk bass. So next up I want to shape envelope 3 really short and then add it to the chorus pitch right here to add a little bit of punch. Next up I'm adding a filter, just a MG-Low 18 filter, which is like almost fully opened up but not completely, so you just get that really sharp high frequencies out of it, so the focus remains on the lower elements. And now in the FX section you can really shape the sound. So for distortion I would choose something like some saturation. And to make it more interesting we can add some dimension to it as well, perhaps before the distortion. Just makes it way more wide and overall gives it more depth. And then I would end it with a little bit of room. can play around with using different toms on top to get just a slightly different transient on the sound, or you could play around especially also with the modulation right here. Like the more you modulate it, the more non-organic it will sound, but in some cases that might be what you're looking for. And you can also play around further with FX to make it more original or shape it to your taste. The next sound we're covering is the sequence. And sequences are just really nice to have in your toolkit to get like fast inspiration during your sessions when creating Afro House. And Serum 2 made it much easier to have plug and play sequences readily available, because there's this ARP section right here, and if you click on it and turn it on right here, you can select a pattern here and select this, and then you can start to draw in a rhythm. You can make it as long as you want if you want to create variations or anything. And you can also switch between notes, but here it's counted in steps instead of notes, because you want to be able to play it on different notes on the keyboard. But before, if you wanted to do this inside Serum, because sometimes it's just nice to just press a note and get instant inspiration in your track, you really had to go with the LFO, but this just opens up like way more possibilities. So we're going to use that, and from there it's basically a matter of regular sound design. But because you have the rhythm already, you can also pay closer attention to the movements you want to introduce. For now, let's just start building like a simple sequence. So I like to use the new analog wavetables. Let's go for this one, and then let's link envelope 1 to an MGLO 80 filter. Give it a bit of release. What's also nice is to connect the velocity knob right here to the filter. And then inside of your pattern, you can play around with the velocity. And you can do that with any parameter, so that's really nice. Might want it to be an MGLO 24 filter, give it a bit of resonance. Then let's add a Juno 106 noise. I like the sound of modulating sounds like this with the noise oscillator. And from here it's really a matter of getting creative, because you could use this, however it's not original at all, just a simple saw with some minor modulation going on, and sometimes keeping it simple will do the job. But if you want to come up with creative sequences, then from here you can start thinking about creative ways to change up the sequence. For example, I could set an LFO to free mode, link it to the fine tune and set it to like 1 bar. Then you will hear this slight variation in fine tune is introduced, and you could add that to the resonance and the cutoff. Just really subtly. And for example, you could add another layer. Let's select like a lower layer, give it a bit more body, turn down the level. And then in Serum 2, it's really nice that you can also start playing around with routing, because this mix section is new and you have actual FX buses. So you can get way more creative with that. Let's say we want to add another regular saw wave. Then we pitch it up 1 octave, turn down the volume, and we kind of want to add like a reverse delay effect or something. So then we shape envelope 2 like this. And then we can actually send that oscillator C to a bus. And then we can use that bus to put a delay on. And then oscillator C you can like manipulate separately right here. So adding an effect like that can be really, really nice. Just shows you what's possible with Serum 2 that wasn't possible before, or maybe with a lot of workarounds. So yeah, this gives you a lot of creative freedom for sure. And in only having the wet single in the bus, then just turn off oscillator C right here. And then you have to turn on the mix to 100%. Nowadays you basically have your whole audio effect rack inside Serum, which for sequences and creative stuff inside Serum is really, really nice. To take it further, you could then start modulating like the envelope again. Endless possibilities, and I feel like it's really worth exploring this inside Serum if you're into Afro House. Next sound is the fifth step. So in a lot of modern Afro House tracks on, for example, Magnifique, or from artists like Mira, you hear this really deep steps using a perfect fifth. So that's exactly what we're going to create right now. And I really like the fact that Serum 2 now has 3 oscillators, because that makes it much easier to create really fat analog sounding sounds. So first of all, we're going to open up 3 oscillators with the Model D analog wavetable. Let's see, here it is. And then put the wavetable position on the saw wave of it. And then we want to put oscillator A 2 octaves down. And then to create the perfect fifth, pitch up both oscillator B and C 7 semitones. To make it more analog, we can slightly fine-tune each of them. And right now, of course, it's a really opened up and fat sound, but filtering will fix a lot for that. So let's first shape envelope 1 something like this. And then we can shape envelope 2 like this, and that will modulate the filter. Right now there's also this Moog ladder filter, which makes sounds really fat and analog. So we're going to use that one and make sure all of the oscillators are going through it. Link the velocity to it as well. And right here is all about finding balance between having a really deep and filter sound, but still giving away some of the harmonics. So let's play this. Maybe we should pitch down oscillator B and C. Then we can add a little bit of white noise. Turn up the gain a little bit. And now we actually want to start adding effects. So first of all, a tube distortion. And then again a filter. To get rid of like the real harsh frequencies that it introduced. Then we can add a low and high splitter. So in this case we can add effects only to the higher frequencies. And I want that to add a chorus. And that just makes it so much more alive and wide. However, putting it on a full sound would make you lose body on the sound. And then from there I want to add a compressor. And then lastly just add some delay, really short. And perhaps and then lastly add a little reverb. Then you really have that typical low fifth bass slash lead. You can use it like in multiple ranges. Like as you can see, it's a really effective sound. Next up, we're going to create the typical whoop sound. And in this case, I want a bit more of the hard whoop sound that you hear lately, instead of like the more soft sine bass whoop sound, if you guys get what I mean. And for that, we're going to use this default shapes saw, which is a regular saw wave. Detune it quite heavily. Filter it like this. MG Low 18 filter or something will do the job. And now we want to shape envelope 1 something like this. We will adjust it later on. And then LFO 1 is what really starts defining this sound. So you drag it to the chorus pitch right here, hit Ctrl Shift, and then we want it to hit a range of 12, which is exactly 1 octave. And then we want to introduce some kind of movement like this. And we can play around with the hertz to see how fast we want it to kind of move. And then we also want to add that to the cutoff. Okay, so it's about finding like the perfect balance. Okay, so I think this is a good starting point. And then from here we really want to make this sound fat. So first of all, I'm adding an overdrive and a chorus. I do feel that it can be even fatter, so let's add another distortion. And a diode one could work. Shape it so it doesn't have these tails and stuff. And what also works is linking the LFO to the level. Now adding some delay, again short slap delay, and some reverb. And this gives you that kind of almost elephant sound. Oh wait, it needs to be on envelope mode. And as you can see, playing around with the rate. And even playing around with the wavetable. Like they all basically kind of give you another type of sound. So the bass is the same, however like the shape and the sound itself you can always change. So that's really nice technique to know for Afro House nowadays as well. Then lastly, I want to talk about creating a percussive pluck. So that's basically a normal pluck but layered with a more percussive tone, which really helps you to get that organic touch in your Afro House productions. So for that, let's just open up a simple wavetable. This one. I already loaded this MIDI with a little pitch effect. And then we want envelope 1 to be shorter, as this will be a pluck. We want to link it to an MG-Low 80 filter. So a squarey kind of pluck like this is already really effective. And then let's introduce a little pitch automation on this one as well. Just like really slightly. I feel like that gives a really nice texture to the sound. Put it on envelope mode. This should be done really subtly, like if you do it like this. It sounds really off, but like this. It kind of gives you that effect. So then we want to shape envelope to something like this. And then link that to the global pitch to give some more attack. So right here, main tuning. And then next up, we want to add a actual recorded sample layer on top of it. Again, we go to the non-tonal ones and we can use, for example, a cowbell, which like most of the time works well. And it just adds that little extra to your sound. And we're not going to route this through the filter either. Just have it subtly layered under the main wavetable. So it's really something so simple, but it just adds that little extra touch. And then next up, we can start adding more effects. So on a sound like this, I really like to use dimension. Really widens up the sound and makes it feel alive. A short slap delay, like really short and filtered. Perhaps a bit of tape saturation. Slight filter automation. And then some reverb. So this is a really simple, straightforward way to create nice sounding plucks, and this is already super usable in an Afro House track. Okay, so that was it for this sound design video. I hope you guys learned more about the way that we approach also making these presets. If you have any questions about it, just make sure to leave a comment down below and we'll get back to you. If you want to check out more sounds like this, head over to the link in the description where you will find Tantra, which is our Afro House sample pack, including project files, presets, vocals and more. So if you like the genre and you're looking for some new sounds to upgrade your sound library, make sure to head over to the link in the description. For now, please leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.